An inspiring life story is the account of a moment when an extraordinary person reveals the key that unlocked the door to their success. Among the many themes explored in these narratives are triumphs over adversity and the shattering of previously established boundaries. Not only can you as an individual motivate others to chase their dreams, but you can also provide them with the means they need to keep going strong once they reach their goals. Welcome to the Live and Learn podcast, where compelling stories are shared, inspiring messages are delivered, and active listeners are transformed and inspired. I'm your host, Walter Williams. I'm so excited that you decided to join me in this journey today. And I always like to start these journeys off with a special poetry reading. So let's go into poetry, the Poet's Corner. And come take a seat. Let the words carry. Let your fears and stress be buried. Yes, this is a safe space where hurt and anger is replaced. Welcome to the Poet's Corner, and today I'll be reading my poem entitled With a Pen. With a pen, I can discover. With a pen, I can explore. With a pen, I can uncover. I can do so much more. With a pen, I am free. With a pen, I am equipped. With a pen, my thoughts come alive, holding it with a mighty grip. With a pen, I can write until my heart's content. When writing my thoughts, it is time well spent. When possessing a pen, my thought blossom like flowers. With a pen, I inspire. Tell me, what's your superpower?
Oh, yeah, I like that. You know, that's right up my alley. You were right. That's right up my alley, Walt. That's right up my alley.
So with that said, today's guest is someone that I worked with, wow, what has it been, 20 years now?
20 years, yeah. We look good for 19, 20, don't we? Look good for 19, 20-year-olds, don't we?
They say black don't crack, right?
Don't crack.
So we worked together 20 years ago, and I came across, and we obviously connect through social media like everybody, and I came across and saw that he now writes comics, and I was quite inspired and fascinated by his story. So I'm glad that he decided to join me in the conversation today. But before we start our conversation, let me tell you a little bit about him. Jamar is someone who attended City College, went to the Morgan State. My wife talks so glowingly about, so I feel like I never hear enough about Morgan.
Good woman.
Baltimore bred, like yours truly. And Baltimore breeds some wonderful artists like myself and Jemar, who again wrote the comic PinPoint. And I'm so excited that you decided to join me in the conversation, Jemar. Welcome to the Live and Learn podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm great. Well, thank you for having me on here, man. I mean, yeah, you start doing the math, 20 years, man. Like, whoo.
Yeah, I had to look down at the year because the year just changed. It just turned 2026, and I was like, dang, I did start working at Enterprise in 2006.
Yeah.
So it literally was 20 years.
20 years, yeah. I mean, you think about it, like I said, we watched each other from afar on social media, watched you grow, and I'm just happy to see your success in your personal life with your lovely family, and your personal and your professional life, your career. God's really blessed you, man, and I'm thankful for this opportunity. I take none of this for granted. It's all God's glory, and I'm just thankful to be able to talk about my faith walk with PinPoint because this was a faith walk right here. I select anybody that listens. PinPoint, book 1, volume 1 and 2. It's a 7-volume series, so it's more to come. But it was definitely a faith walk. I got the blisters and the hand cramps and the writer's blocks to prove it.
All about that.
So yeah.
Well, thank you again for coming on and sharing your story about you writing your book PinPoint. So let's dive into that. So what inspired you, and what was that moment that led to you saying, I want to write a comic, so let me start doing that?
Well, PinPoint's almost 9 years old. I started this thing in my head in 2017, and it just stayed up there because it was a safe place. I never had to really work on it. It just floated in my head, these ideas, and they just started coming to me. And I said, it's okay. I'll do it one day. We always had those pipe dreams. And, when COVID hit, God literally said to me, if not now, when, Jemar? You're literally working from home. So in May of 2020, I marked the date and I started writing, doing research. And even then, it was still a faith journey because I had no ending. I had maybe 3 characters in my head. So, and the character list is well beyond that. We're talking. I thought I'd be 5 volumes deep. It wound up being 7. So it was a lot of quitting. I tell people God didn't let me, He didn't let me fail. I quit so many times, but He wouldn't let me fail on this. He kept bringing me back and bringing me back and bringing me back. It took 4 years to write this, 4 years, and then another year to publish it. As you know, that's another journey in and of itself.
Yeah, it is.
So, but it had been in my head for a while. I definitely felt that PinPoint dealt with me and a lot of my personalities and traits. I use superpowers as a metaphor for your talents and your gifts. And so when you talk about what's your superpower, like I said, that's all me right there. I was like,
I thought about you right as I read that line. I was like, oh,
yeah.
I walked right into it.
But it back when I was a kid and stuff, I had the dorky glasses, I had the braces, I had the high top fade and stuff, and I just was the quintessential 90s nerd kid for a little while, and I just kind of, when I got to high school, it was such a big environment for me. I came from a middle school of 42 kids total. So to go to a citywide school where it's coming from everywhere, my class was about 300 plus kids as a freshman. That was a mind freak for me. And I'm just trying to keep my head down and not be the victim of the day. You know what I'm saying? So I really suppressed who I was just to fit into the urban jungle of my high school. A lot of people didn't know that I was athletic. I was actually pretty fast. I could catch. I could have played sports if I wanted to, but I was like, no, I'm good at the school book thing. Let me stay in that. And I'm known for being a smart kid. Let me do that. So I really didn't do a lot of acting too much. They didn't know I knew a lot of other gifts and talents that I had. So I really suppressed who I was just to fit in. I don't want that for my kids, your kids, or other kids. I want them to be who God created them to be. And that's what PinPoint's about. The main character, Julius, he's hiding in plain sight. He has all these gifts and talents, but he's worried about what the world's going to think about you. And that's not living. That's just not dying. That's just making it from the morning to night.
Right.
But how many of us have done that? How many of us still do that? I'm sure we've been on jobs. We're like, man, I could do so much more. Or how'd you get this job? You don't even know how to do this. I can do your job.
Right.
But sometimes we hide who we are. We don't tell who we are. We don't show all of our gifts and talents out of fear of being ostracized, fear of being seen as a freak or just a nonconformist. And sometimes people take our talents and they manipulate and take advantage of it. And we're not like, now I'm working the job of 2 people because I said I can do X, Y, Z. So then they got me doing IT work and now, account executive work or whatever, so I get it, but I'm telling you, be who God made you to be. Use your talents and your gifts. People didn't understand that I can really break down literature too much. I understood Shakespeare at like 15, so I've always loved literature. I was one of the few people that understand Macbeth. So it always grabbed me. It always held my interest. I wasn't good at calculus, but you put Edgar Allan Poe on the thing, I can break that all the way down. So literature was always my superpower.
Wow.
The first book I read that really grabbed me was Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. And that talked about colonization from the role of the colonized. So just seeing that side of it. And I always love the grittiness and the realism of certain works like that. So him, James Baldwin, Richard Wright, Native Son, I love it. Nathaniel Hawthorne with Scarlet Letter and Young Goodman Brown. I love how art reflects reality and the reality of their time, and they didn't sugarcoat it. They called it out. And I'm really big on authenticity, realism, a certain edge to my work. And while this is still built for teens and tweens, there is some grittiness in it. There's still some tough lessons in it and some tough, hard moments because this world is like that. So I had to have my art be a reflection of that.
Well, your story about like how you, and I wrote down your quote about that's not living, that's just not dying, about how you, you went through your your days at in high school, and that kind of reminded me of, you know, my experience. I was in a similar case. You know, I was known as the nerd, the geek, or whatever, and you know, I think the difference with me though is I tried to, you know, play sports. And, you know, when I got to high school, you know, I tried to play basketball. I did play basketball, but it didn't serve me anything. It didn't like make me popular like a lot of people thought, you know. But I think what it helped me do is it helped me realize that, you know, I am who I am. I don't have to try and be somebody different. So I think that that's something that, you know, a lot of, you know, people in my child generation, your child generation, and all that stuff need to understand, you know, be who you are. And you don't have to try to be somebody else. You don't have to follow after the crowd or anything like that. So what's unique about your story is how you said you knew that you loved literature. You really wanted to tap into that. And that was your gift. And look at where it has you now.
Yeah.
So what would you say was your biggest obstacle that you overcome or that you were met with throughout this journey? You said you know, God didn't let you fail. You know, you quit a few times, but he never let you fail. He never let you give up. So what were maybe one or two of those times where you felt like, oh, I'm just not going to do this anymore? And how did you overcome that?
Like I would quit so many times because I thought it would be a 5-volume book. That was what I had in my mind. I'm gonna have 5, and bam, 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 bam. I can knock this out, you know, maybe a year, you know, like the short Israel. They're in the wilderness for 40 years. Would it be a 2-hour journey, or Gilligan's Island, 3-hour tour, and they're on there for 18 seasons? You know, I mean, it never goes the way we think in our mind. I don't care how innocent we are. I don't care how good we are. It never goes that way because it's a journey.
Right.
And in the midst of it, God is teaching you things and showing you things and revealing himself to you. So when I would get frustrated, because I'm a natural procrastinator, when I would get frustrated and things like that, I would just stop and just put my hands up and be like, okay, all right, I can't do this. And then I would have dreams that I'll be back in college and they'd say, hey, you didn't graduate, you got to finish this. You still got something you got to finish. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I got my degree. I said, no, there's still one class left you have to finish. And that was I felt that was my subconscious God speaking to me, using that metaphor to get me back in it. So sometimes I would be sitting in my man cave watching TV and playing my game, and I'd be looking at a stack of notebooks. I had about 3 or 4 notebooks. Because again, this is all handwritten. There's no typing. There's no file drive, zip drive, nothing. It was all handwritten. I went old school. That's my medium, is handwriting. Wow. You know, so when I said hand cramps and blisters, that's a real thing. So I got to a point where I was really like frustrated with my own failure about this. And social media, I give it credit for this. You see other people succeed, and sometimes you compare yourself to like, what, you know, that's I could do that. But at this point, I was like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing myself, you know. And I credit you for that too. I saw your works, and I'm like, wow. So you're one of the people that helped inspire and get me back started. So here, didn't tell you that, did I?
No, you didn't. Oh, yeah, man. So I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, so thank you. I saw when you started posting, you know, your poetry book, stuff like that. I'm saying to myself, I'm happy for my man, but I got to get back on mine. I got to get back on my horse and start riding again. So you helped inspire me and restart it. So just to let you know that, FYI. So I thank you for that. I thank you for that sincerely. You know, and I made a promise to God. I said, God, you give me one more chance. I promise I'll get it done before the end of this month. And like I said, I picked the shortest month of the year. I picked February of 2024. I picked the shortest month to make a promise to God. But hey, you know, God can work in and out of time. So, you know, I got it done with it was leap year, so we had the 29th extra day, but I got it done on the 27th of February, 2024. You know, and like I said before in other interviews, when I wrote the end, I had tears. You know, because like I really reached and accomplished something that was so enormous to me. I overcame my own fear, my own procrastinating nature, my own anxieties, my own doubts. It was literally an effort that I never thought that I could really do. And to hit that, to do that, to get to that point. I mean, that feeling, and then when I finally got the proof in my hands the first time, and when my wife recorded it, and I just ugly cried. I mean, ugly cry because you know, this is your baby, this is your dream. And
Mhm.
when it's in your head, it's a safe space.
Yeah.
But when it's out in the world and the world accepts it and receives it, and I've gotten feedback from so many people about how they enjoyed the work. I have people come to me. So when's the next one coming out? When's the next one coming out? You know, how did this happen? I think I got an idea. Can you tell me this? And I always say, I let out some of my friends and family. I say, I'll let you ask me one question about the book. One question. I give you one question you can ask me. You know, I'll play spoiler for one question. You know, so but it just it's such an amazing feeling of accomplishment.
I
You know,
totally agree.
so like I said, seeing you and your works, and I've taken poetry classes, I've done poems and things like that, and just to see you take that same gift, that talent, and expand on it, man, that really was inspiring. So you were one of the people that really helped me get back on it. So I just want to again thank you. I can't
Oh,
thank you enough for that.
oh, well, no problem. I appreciate that. Like I said, and I always try to carry this with me, saying, I do what I do because I want to inspire people. I don't do it because I want to be the richest man in the world. I want to be able to buy the big car. But if I'm inspiring or motivating one person, then I feel like I'm doing my job, because we were put on here. And I remember when I was at when I was at a dealership like a couple months ago when my wife and I were considering getting another car. I'm glad we didn't. Um, and I met this salesman. He said, your gifts were given to you not for you to keep them, but they were
Mhm.
given for you to share with the world. And that's something that resonated with me, because, like you said, you have your gifts, you have your art, your work, or whatever. And it's so sacred. You keep it close to you, because if you let other people see it or hear it, you don't want somebody to, critique it and say something negative about it. And
Mhm.
suddenly all of a sudden it's like, you start to think less of your work.
Exactly.
You want to
Exactly.
feel good about what you wrote or what you created, and you're very hesitant to share with others because you like, I feel good about this. I don't need their opinion. But then you want to share it because you want people to see how great you are. So you always caught in that tough spot.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a
It's
that's
a
a crazy.
dichotomy, yeah, because it's fear of the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
but you
Yep.
also want to know what the unknown is. You know,
Exactly.
it's like I liken it to sending your kids off to school for the first time. You know,
Right.
that fear, like how are they going to be received in school? Are they going to make friends easy? Are they going to be bullied? Or are they going to be the bully? Are they how are they going to talk to teachers and navigate the hallways and stuff? And what do they have to go to bathroom breaking and
Right.
stuff? Like how are they going to navigate this stuff or walk into school or in on a bus? So many thoughts hit your brain with that,
Mm-hmm.
and that was scary handing this out to the publisher, and shout out to Full Circle Press, Dr. Marina Gilmore. She's the owner and the founder there, and she's been a great help and an asset, and I appreciate her dearly. But I gotta admit, it was scary. It
Mm-hmm.
really was. And she told me, she said, we've never done a graphic novel comic style before. We've never done that before.
Oh
She's,
man.
so this was new territory. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be the rookie here, not you. But she said her editor was able to follow it, and he understood it, the transcripts, and he was able to fight. She said once he was able to tell me that he could follow it well and it made sense to him, she said then I could see it, because she said she wasn't a big comic book person at all, but her team could follow it. So I was like, okay, all right. So it's a faith walk for a lot of people. It's not just me out here stepping out in this boat, you know. So, but I'm definitely grateful for this opportunity, man. Like I said, it's timely because we live in a world now where they want you to conform, they want you to fit into these boxes.
Yeah. Right.
They want you to conform and be what they think you should be, what society thinks you should be. And I'm not doing that, man. I'm not doing that. I need my children, I need your children, I need everyone who's watching this to understand, be who God made you to be.
Exactly.
Whatever your gift is in this world, rock it out. Rock it
Absolutely.
out. If your gift is singing, sing. If your
Yep.
gift is acting, act. And I can act, but I can't sing a lick. But I've done plays and stuff, and I've been acting since I was a kid. But again, when I got to high school, I did like one play, and it was a mess. And I said, I ain't doing this no more. No, thank you. But I really suppressed things. And it wasn't until I got to college And I kind of branched out, started meeting people from different parts of the world and the country and stuff like that. And just discovering that, hey, the guy that they're looking back at isn't a bad guy. He's got some gifts. He's got some talents. He's got some self-confidence. And it just started growing. And the real me came out, the funny side of me, the jokester, the happy-go-lucky guy, you know. And I was kind of surprised at myself, you know, like, oh, so I've been holding on to this. And you shortchange yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you shortchange yourself. And I have gifts that I just didn't show the world at times. You know, and you know, like I said, that's shortchanging other people, because you never know. What if you didn't write that poetry book? What if you didn't publish it? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm one of the people that you helped inspire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then I had somebody reach out to me and say, hey, I'm finishing my work because I saw what you published, Jemar. So it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
It's a domino effect. And somebody probably inspired you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So, you know, it goes forward. We pay it forward. We pay it forward. I want a young person to see, to read this work, to see this work, you know, see this interview and say, man, you know what? I've had an idea and I'm going to start. I'm going to start.
Absolutely.
You know, or I have a gift. I have a talent. Whatever, like I said, whatever your superpower is. Julius has the superpower, and he's not the only person in his family that has it, but he doesn't know that. And so he's been hiding in plain sight for so long. And now he's coming to a point where he can't hide anymore. So his world is forcing it out of him. Things that are out of his control, you know, and sometimes that happens in this world too. You know, we have to do this. We have to be great because we have no choice. It's either succeed or die.
Right.
What would they say? Failure is not an option.
Yeah.
So we get those situations where we have to succeed. You know, we have families, we have responsibilities. We have to do our best because it's not just us now.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's not just us, but sometimes we put ourselves in those situations because we've been hiding for so long and suppressing it for so long. And God's like, I gave you these gifts. I'm going to get my return on my investment. I'm going to get my ROI.
Right, exactly. And the thing too, I want to stress too about what you just shared about, like, you know, be proud of your gifts, you know, and the one of the best things you can do for yourself when you focus in on your gifts is continue to work on them and always find ways to get better. I think that sometimes what hinders people from seeing how great they can be is, as you and I just shared a minute ago, their fear of feedback. And giving and receiving feedback is something that has become more and more of a touchy and sensitive topic for a lot of people, because people don't want to be told that they can do better, you know, and being told that you can do better is a compliment. But you know, it just almost sometimes has to come from a trusted source, because it's like, how you know this isn't great, how you know this isn't good, and people want to question it. So what I want to challenge, you know, listeners and viewers to do is to be open to feedback. And, you know, I'm not saying all feedback is good feedback, because there's some that you just sometimes got to, you know, brush it off and just, you know, treat it like it's nothing. But feedback can sometimes mean this is good, but it can be better, or you are great and you are capable of better. And I think that sometimes people fail to unlock their gifts because they're fearful of being told that they can be better.
So I'm gonna tell on myself here. I for so long, and my wife can attest to this, when she sees this video, she'll be like, yes, that's you. I would always take it and be prickly about feedback and critique that she would give me. You know, I would be like, well, and I would just be angry and upset and like, well, why is this? What, you know, I'm just being real. Keep it real. You know, I can't say I write real stuff and then act fake on an interview. But throughout the years and the therapy and everything like that, I've learned to take the critiques and see them as they really are. Critiques and opinions and advice on how to get better. Because if I succeed, my family succeeds, including her. So why would she give me something bad? Why would she poison the well that she drinks out of?
Right.
You know, so I had to learn to see it a different way, and I had to change my thinking on that. And I think that if you have 2 to 4 good friends in your life that you trust, that have been there through the wars with you, through the lean times, and vice versa with them, you can take that feedback because you know where it's coming from. You know, at the core of it is love and betterment for you, improvement for you. So I don't say, just post your work online and just say, give me feedback to a whole bunch of randos.
Oh no, not
Yeah.
at all.
But if you have two to four good people, like I had two people I trusted that had backgrounds that were comic book aficionados read my work.
Oh.
So, and I got feedback from them early on. That was part of my process with the publishing company, so, and they gave me some good critiques, stuff that I couldn't see because I was too close to the sun to see how bright it was.
Right. Yeah.
So they gave me a different perspective. When they gave me that, then I could step back and say, okay, that makes sense. Okay. And the majority of the critiques were I implemented in the work, so some stuff was kind of ironclad. I couldn't change everything, but I would say about 95% I did change.
Oh, wow.
So it definitely helped. But again, you got to have people that you trust that their core to be love.
Yep, absolutely. And you want people that you can trust. So, that's a good point. Making sure you go to people you can trust. I'm definitely not saying go to anybody for feedback. You want to make sure it's quality feedback that you're getting, and that starts with knowing your source.
Yeah.
So before we transition over to the spiritual relief segment, I wanted to ask you, so you said that right now, I think you said you have volumes. Did you say volumes 1 through 5?
I have volume 1 and 2 already out right now.
Okay, so you're planning to come out with up to 7 volumes.
Correct. So it's all done. It's all written out and just publishing them. So book 1 is out. The website is pinpointcomic.com. That is our website. My wife and I made that ourselves, so we are a small but blessed business. So I hit the one of the big marks of triple digits now with sales. So I'm proud about.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Yeah, so I'm really proud about that.
Should be.
Yeah, so I've done some book signings. I want to do some more, and I want to get this going. So by 2027, I can have book 2 out with volumes 3, 4, and 5. Okay. But I tell people book 1 is the appetizer. I just drop you in, kind of Netflix style, like I like to call it, where they just drop you in. You don't know your episode 1. You wonder, like, what? I'm in a battle zone, in a war zone. What's going on? And then by episode 7 or 8, you realize that's why he didn't like her. That's why she didn't trust him. Because remember when he said that, and you wonder why she slapped him, and you're like, "Wow, you slapped that guy for?" And then in episode 7, you realize that he cheated on his wife and with her, and then she didn't know he was married and stuff. You're like, "Oh wow," So, but I drop you in the middle of Pinpoint. You don't know all the villains. You may think you do. You don't know all the heroes. You may think you do. And you think, "Oh, this is this way." No, but I want your brain and your gears to start going and thinking and processing things. But volume one and 2, they're just the appetizer right now. Wow. They're just the appetizer, just to get your brain going. So, but I'm proud of the work. I'm proud of the artwork here. Cameron Wilson did a great job with it. Shout out to him. I had some non-negotiables on some of my main characters, but a lot of the other characters in the background and settings, and even the cover art, that's all him. So shout out to him for that. It definitely was a labor of love getting it together, but we collaborated well. So I'm just excited to see where God's going to take this vision.
Wow. Again, congratulations. I know you got great things to come, and I'm very proud of the work that you've done and the work that you continue to do. I will give you an opportunity when we close out to give everybody your web address, and I will actually put the web address at the bottom of this video. Great. And I'll give you an opportunity to share your information. But before we go down to the fun part, we're going to, connect with God, because Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need." And by the way, just a quick plug, be sure to order my book, Embracing Your Role in the Kingdom, which is a devotional that I wrote about 2 years ago. So be sure to purchase your copy. It's on my website, deepdiscussion.org. But God is at the center of all we do. And we often lose track, and sometimes we need somebody to refocus us. So today's spiritual relief is an opportunity for us to do that. And I'm going to read from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11. And it reads, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has put thoughts of the forever in man's mind. Yet man cannot understand the work God has done from the beginning to the end. I was inspired to share this verse because, like Jemar shared, and myself as well, I've picked up and put my work down so many times. And, it's easy for us to keep picking up and putting it down because we feel like we should be ready to sell or be ready to share with the world right now. But sometimes it just takes time. We have to let God do his magic through us with our work. And sometimes it's just not ready yet. So we always have to be reminded it's in God's time, not our time. And we are a very impatient society. And God will test us. God will test our patience. And my patience get tested every single day. I have a 4-year-old. So
yeah.
But yeah, what that verse says to me is we need to be aware that we are on God's time, and we can't make the schedule of when our work will become perfect or when our work will be, a bestseller or the hottest item on the block. That's in God's timing.
Amen. And I think we are a microwave / air fryer now generation. I mean,
I heard a microwave. I haven't heard the air fryer. I'm gonna have to add that to my vernacular now.
Yeah. You can copy that. That's fine. So, but we're used to having something done within a minute to 8 minutes to 1 minute. How long take to fry this chicken? 8 minutes in the air fryer. Boom. All right, we're gonna have dinner ready in about 7-8 minutes. All right, and already put the seasoning on there and everything like that. We good to go. We are not used to the grind of productivity. Our grandparents, our great grandparents, they had, when it was Thanksgiving, they cooking 3 days in advance. Some of them had to actually get the bird, kill the bird, clean the bird, pluck the bird. I can go right to Costco and get it right. Get it right now. I mean, we're not used to having to wait for good things. We're just not. And in our mind, like you said, we're so used to seeing the finished product of other people's success.
Yep.
So I want to be like Jay-Z and Beyonce. Well, Jay-Z was selling, stuff, in New York for a long time before he got on, and Beyonce and then was going all these little things when she was a kid singing. So they grind. You just don't see that. You don't see that. I want to be like, why can't I be like LeBron James? Why can't I be like Spike Lee? And there's so many failures that they had to endure. So many free throws LeBron shot that we never gonna see. How many laps he ran in his gyms? How much, what I'm saying? What's the workout regimen? You really want to be that? Do that workout regimen and see if you can hang. So I'm saying all that to say that we have to appreciate the journey to get here. We have to appreciate it, because once you're there. It's like, okay, it's great, but you're like, man, how many people say, I remember when I ain't had nothing. I remember when I was going through this stuff, and they'll reminisce about the journey. And they'll tell other people, man, appreciate what you have, appreciate getting there, appreciate what you had to do to get to that, appreciate the people that helped you get there. Yeah. That's what we forget, because we just want to get there. We just want to get there. But man, I'm telling you, like, so many times I've seen people just reminisce on how when they didn't have it, when they were going through. I mean, I think about my marriage and stuff like that, and how we didn't have a home. We were, living in apartments and things like renting and stuff like that, and going into home ownership, and that's in that process, but like look how far we've come.
Right.
Look how far look how God has blessed us. So it's important to understand that, and like I said, we want the now blessing, but you see his hand over your life carrying you the whole way.
Right. Exactly.
That's the difference when you can see that and understand that. Like I said, it took me 4 years and it was not easy. But I look back on that and I'm like, man, like if I had a time machine, I would go back and almost have like a Bill and Ted moment and pop up like, bruh, it's gonna be all right. You gonna make it. I know it ain't easy. I know. Yeah, I lost the weight too. You see how we on weight today? I'm telling you, God got us. God got us. I hop back in the time machine and come back to now but I look back on that guy and I'm like, man, I'm the dude that I prayed to be. I'm that guy now.
Yeah.
So I thank God for that, man. And, but enjoy the journey, because like I said, we want it now, but we ain't ready for it. The children of Israel weren't ready. They still had an Egypt mindset.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, it's better for us. We should have just been slaves and go out in the wilderness and die. God, like, you know what I brought you out of? And you still ain't grateful. So sometimes you gotta get that mindset, because we're not ready for some of those successes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that word of wisdom with the listeners and the viewers. What I will also say before we get to a segment that I call the Frivolous Five, and I'll explain that in a minute.
All right.
One of the things too, when you say appreciate the journey, one of the things that really made me that really humbled me and made me, in my times of struggle and difficulty, is to always gravitate to what that moment is trying to teach me. So I can jot it down and live to teach someone else, live to share.
Real wisdom right there. That's real wisdom.
Live, and now I have a son, so it makes it even more important for me, when I'm going through challenging times, to take notes and say, okay, I went through this because I made this decision. Next time I'll make sure I make a better decision, or whatever the case may be. You want to live to help others. And, we got to get out of this competitive mindset too, with this society we live in. We always want to stay ahead of other people instead of, bringing people with us, or even not minding if somebody, may get a little bit further than us. Sometimes it doesn't have to be a competition. Exactly. And I think that, it's often, kind of like what you alluded to about, they see other people's success and suddenly they want to try to catch up to them. But your journey is your journey. Not all journeys are created the same. So.
Yeah. That's that. I mean, I couldn't say it better myself. The wisdom just came out right there. I mean, like you say, your journey is your journey. And it's nothing wrong with helping somebody else get to their journey and get to their destination.
Exactly.
This helps me. You put me on your podcast. I was honored. I mean, and I've done another podcast with another good friend of mine, Brian. Brian Waters, and I was honored to be with that. And that's another good brother. And he's helped me out. He's given me, great feedback, and he's helped give me a platform as well. So, and I told him, I said, look, man, and I try to be transparent with people. I said, look, if and when this blows up, this ever becomes live action, I'm putting you on. And same with you, Walt. You guys are giving me a platform. I'm gonna do my part to reciprocate.
I appreciate that. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong with helping other people. And if I can do that, if I can be a blessing to somebody else, that's what I'm supposed to do. Like you say, like God didn't give you these gifts and talents and open up doors for you just to shut them behind you.
Exactly.
Afford your talent like a miser. No. No, I'm not Ebenezer. And I don't need 3 ghosts to come visit me to give. I'm good.
I hear that. All right. So again, that was some really good inspiration and wisdom that Jemar and I shared. So I hope you all took notes, and I hope we helped inspire you in whatever challenge you're dealing with, whatever your journey currently entails. Hopefully we spread some light to you if you're currently in a dark place. Now we're going to get to the fun part. So Frivolous 5, I just came up with this name today. I've been trying to come up with a name for this segment for probably the last 1.5 to 2 years. So this is just a random list that I come up with. I get you to name your top 5 of something. Okay. So what I decided to choose today, because you was mentioning, people was talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce, LeBron James. Mm-hmm. So who would you say, and I know people are very sensitive about the whole word idols and role models and all that, but who are 5 people that you would say inspired you growing up?
Ooh, okay. All right, so one guy right off the bat, I'll say, is Deion Sanders.
Oh, okay.
Deion Sanders. I mean, growing up, remember when we were kids, we're before pre-Ravens. I was growing up, so Deion Sanders and the flamboyant, the cocky, the attitude. I mean, in the good way. And I had speed for a little kid. I had speed. I could catch the ball really well, so I could catch interception. I played street ball and stuff like that, so I always had good hand-eye coordination. And I would watch him and everything, and that was one of my first guys right there was Deion Sanders. So, I'm a real big prime time Deion Sanders fan. So yeah, that's one of the guys right there to help inspire me and influence me at a young age. So I'm trying to think someone else. As a teen tween, I was into wrestling.
Mhm.
So, you know, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, you know,
Oh,
I was a big Razor Ramon guy. When he passed away, it broke my heart. You know,
um,
he was just so freaking cool. So freaking cool, man. Oh, I saw him in person before and stuff, and it just always was a good thing. So Scott Hall, um, believe it or not, you know, it's kind of weird, but Jaleel White, Steve Urkel,
oh,
you know, that
okay.
that I was like I said, I had the nerdy look, so I was an Urkel impersonator type thing in my spare time. In the mirror when I'd hike my pants up and stuff like that. But when you get to know the actor behind, like it was going to be a one-time opportunity, but he captivated the audience so much that they wrote him in.
Oh wow, really?
The
I
show,
didn't know that.
yeah, if you do the research, the show is going to be more of a modern middle class Huxtable family. You know, not the rich doctors and lawyers, but more the working middle class black family. So we're going to take a more serious tone. And he came in there and really just changed the trajectory of the show. And it did cause some strife because some of the actors were like, well, we supposed to be covering serious topics. Now everything is the Urkel show, you know, and he's
Mm,
coming here, you know, a 12, 13-year-old kid and see me doing acting. I like, you know, I like to see that acting and that diversity, you
mhm.
know, and I was like, wow, he took advantage of his one opportunity and just really built an empire off of it. So, you know, shout out to him. And I was really impressed with that,
Wow,
you
that's
know.
a good story. I never knew that. Wow.
Yeah, you know, so Jaleel White, Steve Urkel, you know, um, trying to think someone else that I know. Now, I've never met this person. They passed away a couple of years ago, but I mentioned him earlier. Chinua Achebe, the writer of Things Fall Apart.
Mhm.
You know, having the vision and the talent to express a non-popular opinion because they don't talk about colonization. You know, we don't really talk about it in school. We don't really talk about it, and it still goes on. I mean, you know, people want to colonize other areas now in certain parts of Greenland, you know, and people want to take over this area and imperialism going on and things like that, you
Mhm.
know, and with Russia and the Ukraine, you know, it's still going on. And assimilating and taking over a whole culture and changing it to fit what you think the culture should reflect. And I love the fact that he showed the perspective from the oppressed. Now, the oppressed, they had their issues before colonization, but they still had their sovereignty or what they thought was their sovereignty and their freedom. And they had their own traditions. And showing the tension and the clashing and the people who easily assimilated and the people who knowingly resisted. And they were in the same house.
Oh wow.
So a lot of that just I love the tension that they built into it and into the work. You know, how do you feel if your son is cool with being assimilated into European culture, but you're a chief? I'm breeding this life into you so you can take over for me, but you don't want none of me. So you're rejecting not just society, but myself.
Right.
Rejecting me. I'm rejected for someone who didn't even raise you,
Mhm.
who saw you as a savage. So I loved his storytelling, and that sparked my love for literature. So
Mhm.
so thank you, Mr. Achebe. I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me and as a fellow literary scholar. Um, and I'm trying to think one other person. One other person. Um,
You got any
this is
movie actors?
yes, I do have a movie actor. Um, one of my favorite actors of all time, Christopher Lloyd. Christopher,
Oh, wow, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
yes, I am a huge Christopher Lloyd fan. You know, I mean, not just the Doc Brown things. I mean, Uncle Fester. I mean, he's done so many different works throughout the years. And I love the fact that he just has this range about him, you know, and can just play different roles. And he's been around for so long, pretty much my whole childhood. He's been around, and just to see how great of an actor he is, and I'm glad he's still with us. And I praise it with us a lot longer, but I've always been a fan of his work, and just I've always played, most of the time, I always play bad guys when I do plays and things like that. I do a lot of gospel plays. They've always had me as the bad guy a lot of times and stuff. So that's just fun to me because I like being a bad guy because you do more as a bad guy. But he's done so much, and he's done good, good guy roles, heroes, villain roles. I mean, I just always respected that range, So, yep.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. That was definitely a great explanation of, not just who you admire, but your reasons. Like those are like, they really speak to at least who I know you to be, with what you detailed about each person. So I appreciate you sharing that. So before we close out, tell the listeners how they can connect with you and how they can learn more about you, your books, and when you how to purchase your books first off, and when your next ones are going to be released.
Well, my website, pinpointcomic.com, has my email address, and you can order the books right there on it, and we'll ship it directly to you. I will personalize it myself. No extra charge for that. So I will personalize the book myself for you. It's $19.99 plus tax because we have to pay Uncle Sam.
Of course.
But the next book signing thing, I will post it on the website. I'll wait for the weather to get a little bit warmer. But we will be posting. I just did a book signing at the City Poly tailgate. In October, early November. So I did that there. I had one early in the year, right at the end of the summertime as well. It was the first one. So I want to do one in a local bookstore. So when I do that, it will be on the website as well. I'll let you know as well if you want to post it. If you want to post it on the website. But yeah, so that's the next thing. So when the springtime comes, the weather gets a little nicer, I'm going to do another book signing as well. But yes, PinPoint Comic, PinPoint Comic, COMIC.com. Had to really think there. Think.
It'd be like that.
Yes. So that's the website. And like I said, my contact, my email and phone number are on there as well. So if anybody's interested in wanting to do any speaking engagement, I love to speak to the youth. Doesn't matter if it's one kid or 50, it doesn't matter. This work is for everybody because we all have a talent and a gift. I love to come and speak to them about it as well. So
okay, I'll jot that down because I do know a couple of people that are doing like mentorship initiatives and want to have that male influence. So
that'd be great.
So it's definitely good to know that I can reach out to you and connect with you because I think it's a nonprofit that I'm getting involved with on the board called Leader Breeders, and they're in Baltimore.
Okay.
And I know they want more male mentorship and more male presence. So I'll definitely reach out to you. I'll talk to them to see when they'll have an event where I can invite you to speak to them, and we'll definitely be in touch for that.
Excellent. That would be great. I definitely, like I say, I wrote this book for the teen tween. I wrote it for the kid that I always wanted to be, so, and I want those kids to know that they have gifts and talents and that they should share them with the world.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much again, Jemar, for, joining me on the Live and Learn podcast. And thank you all listeners and viewers for sharing a moment of your journey with me here on the podcast. My hope is that you leave today a little bit more inspired, grounded, and ready for whatever challenge rises to meet you next. If you'd like to stay connected with me, feel free to reach out to me on all major social media platforms, and all of them are at Deep Discussion. X, which nobody really uses, is Deep_discussion. You can also visit my website, deepdiscussion.org, and contact me via email at thriveforward@deepdiscussion.org. Thank you so much. And until the next time we meet, stay curious, stay inquisitive, and stay inspired. Take care.